Welcome to The Hinge with Noel and Jake, a spiritual meander on the mystery of being human.
Here we are. It's dark outside. Windy. Very windy. We could barely open the door to the church this evening. And when we pried it open, the other door flew open. So we're just back.
Yeah. We're just, we're just back, and we just took a moment in silence, maybe about a minute, wasn't it, before we sat, and I was sitting here and I was with the softness of the silence. And I was thinking about the silence that we met in, so I'd never been to Adoration.
Adoration.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think it'd be good to explain a little bit about what adoration is. You know, so you told me, I didn't know.
So, in the Catholic Church, the body of Christ is put in a display vehicle called the monstrance, and with a short religious ceremony conducted by a priest, it is put on the altar, and in silence we look at the body of Christ. And it's a space for people to be with Christ on their own terms. There's no rules. There's a short introductory song that we sing together. Then there's just the silence. And in the monastery of Quor Abbey, Our Lady of Quor Abbey here in the Isle of Wight, it's on a Thursday evening, just before Compline, the last office of the day, where they close for the day and go to bed on time to get started early. And it's a very soft, quiet moment. It's a very sweet moment, I think, to be in the quietness of this huge church with 10 monks and a couple of visitors. Maybe there were maybe more than a couple, but a few, and us. And to take a moment of stillness and to stop where you're at, and sometimes very joyous. I was with other things today, but and I wanted to share that with you. I wanted you to know what I like doing on a Thursday night when time permits, or when I'm here. And it's a curious experience. And I wish it was more of there was more of an invitation for people not familiar with it, because it's actually just a good place for anyone to be, regardless of conviction but you know, a religious house can have quite a high threshold, which I'm sorry about, and I hope we're lowering the threshold a little bit by talking about it here between us in the dark of the late evening. It's nearly 11 o'clock. It seemed like a good moment to talk about adoration and Compline.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the word adoration, and my mum, I have to double check this, but I'm pretty certain that she would have gone to the local church for adoration. And I remember hearing the words, and I'd be like, adoration. Like it feels like it's such a strange word, isn't it? And the experience in the silence. Yeah, the doors were like, you know, I'm thinking about the silence we had this morning, you know, where God came in the door and, you know, the guys of the man on the phone and the silence. And I was looking up, you know, it was beautiful. You know, I was looking up as, you know, feeling in this moment. I hadn't thought about that. But I realized in this moment as I was looking up, I was being looked at. You know, when you get out of the noise of your mind that tells you, no, sure, that couldn't be true. Even your body tells you.
There is a loving gaze.
Yeah.
There is a loving gaze.
And then, so it was great to just do it, to be in it together. Because you said to me sometimes, I was off to the Abbey. Like, where's my Abbey? Yeah. There's no Abbey in Donegal. I mean, there's plenty of Abbeys, We're not short of Abbeys. And I suppose the value of being in community.
Mm. Yeah.
We're all alone together in our personal experience of Jesus, the body of Christ.
We're alone in the search, and we can sometimes share the search, and we can also be together in our loneliness. Loneliness shared is a burden shared.
Yeah.
And in that suffering, there's also a lot of beauty.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then because the Abbey, for people who aren't familiar with, I'm looking at I think you said earlier, was one of the monks, but turn of the last century, was that he was an architect. He'd been classically trained or trained in a very good school. I was looking at the arches and the bricks and the shadows and the light, everything that's inviting you into a deeper intimacy. Yeah. I'm thinking about sometimes people we might go to places and God, there's nothing in this place, and you kind of realize exactly there's nothing in this place and there's everything in this place. And I reminded one time I went to the cathedral in Liverpool, and there's Tracy Emin has a sign up there in pink neon, writing that says, I felt you and knew that you loved me. And, which I first heard that 7 years ago, I think. And, just mesmerized, so then to go and see it. And I'm in the cathedral, and, so I'm wandering around the cathedral, because what else would you be doing?
You're in Liverpool.
When you're in Liverpool, as well as watching Liverpool and play, and wandering, and the vastness of that cathedral. And so I'm with people very dear to me, and so they say to me, what's with the bigness of this place? And I have no idea, I'm no architect, but I said I think it's something, I think it's about inviting an awe, in the vastness of and then somewhere I wandered around and I found written about, I think, that particular architect or somebody connected to it took all of this time to build. I can't remember all of the history, but all I know was that I was in a place of God.
Yeah.
Which, of course, when I say of course, it's like, what what
were you thinking as a cathedral? No, but
yeah,
an edifice of that size.
Yeah.
I don't think we have an angry, fear-inspiring God, but we have an awe-inspiring God. And taking your breath away with incomprehension, can it be that beautiful? Can it be that enormous?
Yeah.
So awe is a beautiful word. It's not a fear-inducing concept, right? And you look at these edifices that some of these people built them and they never saw it finished.
Yeah.
And they were part of a chain. They didn't think about it like that, but they did not also expect to see it finished. They didn't. Apparently, in the consciousness of the Middle Ages, people didn't think about that. They weren't busy with closing something. They were busy being part of something. They were constructing. Well, they were making a living. Maybe I'm making it bigger than it is, but
or maybe not, Jake.
I think both.
Both and. Yes, you got to make that. They're not. Maybe that. Sometimes I feel that we reduce things to the ending, to the what'll this be? I hope I live to see. These are they're great things, aren't they? And you think about what you were saying about and sitting on the desk here Elevating, Lifting Up the Candle is a little book about awe. That I brought over because, I definitely need another book.
Yeah, you do.
Might get a few before I go home. You know what I mean? We pass a bookshop, used to be pints of Guinness. Now it's like, I'm really into my books. It's like dragging a big satchel around the place. When you said to me yesterday, it's like, how much weight is in that thing?
Who's paying your chiropractor?
And, like where the awe, like, that saying, Tracy Emin saying, I felt you and knew that you loved me. To really leave that in. And I think the silence speaks that in ways that sounds are so, so deep inside us that the soul begins to, I believe, curl up and smile and just rest. Like the infant Jesus.
Yeah. And there's in this church, I like the Orthodox approach, icons everywhere, like a classroom full of children who've all been done finger painting, but then more beautiful perhaps, but there's another picture, wow, I was in an Orthodox church in Bologna. I went in, thank God it was open. I checked every day. Finally on a Wednesday it was open, and I went in. It's so beautiful. And to go into a place like this which I frequent at least once a week, to have a pure brick building of a mathematical precision to give an expression to the divine with almost no distraction.
That's right.
So you can focus, and your eye, because there's only bricks and beautiful movements upwards.
That's right.
The movement of the columns pull your gaze upward, and then at the very end you meet Jesus Mary with child.
Yeah.
Right. Looking at you, and so because it's difficult to not be distracted, or it's easy to be distracted from God.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also a joke by God. He's giving us all this stuff to get distracted. I was here all the time, but I mean,
Yeah.
At the first can of Coke, you stop looking.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. And, when you were talking about how the architecture and the brickwork, everything draws you upwards. When we went in this evening, I mean, I'd seen it this morning when we went in this evening, it's dark. I noticed myself spontaneously, not distracted, following the arches up and looking.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something more than that. I noticed inside myself, maybe I find myself wondering that in that gaze upwards, that you're saying, I see you. And I know that you feel me, and I know that you love me. And I often feel when I sit with people that, this isn't always, people who probably sat with me over the years said, I didn't really feel that when I sat with them. And I'm thinking about a man that I sat with one time, just one of the many men I sat with. And everybody is so beautiful in their own broken, hearted ways. And I remember what he said to me one time about the experience of sitting together. And I was thinking of him lately, because I reached out to him. I wanted to check out something with him. And, it's lovely. Sometimes your relationship, your healing relationship with somebody, it ends in a particular way, and then it moves to something still healing, still loving. And he spoke about what it was like to have an experience of being loved. The intimacy of two men speaking about what it is to be loved. And a phrase that I say to people, that occurred to me in a room, sometimes when I'd sit with people, is, where they would very clearly talk about, their, an inner life, contemplative life, belief, and say, he loves you, right? And, once you're not forcing anything and you can see it's going in. And in that moment, a new world has been born.
And people find it easy to accept that?
Not always, and in the encounter, if you're not, it's like, say, if I don't love myself, right? Say if you don't love yourself, right?
It becomes a lot more difficult. Yeah. But also if we have problems with religion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What is right?
Who's he?
Who's
and by the guy, is he a guy? How?
Yeah. And is he white? And it's like, because it's a very problematic.
But God is white. Was a white man with a white beard, isn't he? I mean,
I think so.
He speaks English.
Well, I hope so, because I'll be.
Because he was like, and Jesus was like the only white guy in the Middle East, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
made him really special.
Really special. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. And like getting our head around is like, well, who's God anyway? And like most of our images of God are in the image of somebody who's probably been punitive and fear-inducing. And where's your lovely word of awe? Let's think about awe.
Yeah.
Let's not even think about awe. Let's be in the experience of awe. Yeah. You're thinking about, sorry, Jake.
I was also thinking about, proffering, he loves you, or you are loved, or
he loves you.
You kind of know what space people in, right?
Totally.
So because to some people I don't say it.
And I wouldn't.
I try to flip it, right? So I say like, that you are perfect as you are, right? So I try to take it out of the space. But if the timing is good enough, and timing is not always great, but you say it in an authentic moment when you feel it's right. I mean, this is part of the
sensing, isn't it?
Yeah, the sensing of sitting with people, right?
Yeah.
And
because sorry.
No, I'm sort of thinking you can't just. It's not a script, right?
It's not a script. Right now,
do you know you're loved?
Internal family systems. You know you're loved. It reminds me of when I was doing my social work training years ago, right? And of course you're observed, right? When you're, and I was, and if this couple are listening, I was working in adoption and, I was on placement in adoption down in Limerick. And, so my practice teacher had to see me, he had to observe me doing a piece of work, and it's anxiety provoking. And, it was for me anyway. And, so I met this couple, and I was doing a post-placement interview. So, like 6 months after, like, I'm thinking about this right now. I mean, like the sacredness of what you're invited into. Couple have had adopted a young baby from a foreign country, and you go and you visit as a social worker, and you're seeing how they're getting on with this new life in their hands. So I'm being observed. I hardly know the name of the baby. I hardly know my own name. I'm trying to struggle to, and I have my notes, and it's like, you talk about the script. How is this going for you?
Spit it out, guys.
I just, and feeling, but also I look back and, like all of a sudden, like the sincerity of, and their generosity as well, where.
Trying to make it happen for you.
Trying to make it happen.
He's being assessed.
Let's, roll with him.
This is totally normal the way you're behaving.
Yeah. So you can imagine when you're coaching, you kind of go, you're.
Give me a moment. I'm just. Oh yeah, that.
I just gotta tee this up.
But if you get it right, I think even when people don't have to believe in God, you don't have to believe in God. We just happen to be talking about the experience of God.
Yeah.
And sometimes God is not the right word for you, but when it lands, and I'd like to. No, not tell me. I know. You can see when it lands.
Yeah.
It's an experience of God, even if you don't believe in God, and even if you don't want to. But it is another experience.
Yeah.
To have the realization that you are loved.
Yeah.
Whatever that by the object of which you are an object.
Yeah.
The provenance we may not agree on the word or something. Yeah. But something is moving, and you see the welling up of tears or the silencing of someone or the relaxation or the surrender is beautiful. And I think in Compline that happens for me also. The gaze that you were talking about. It's very moving, and it's different every time, right? Because we're different and we need different things. And I was I was with the suffering of the world, and when I saw the body of Christ in that receptacle, and we're looking at it. Of course, we can't really see. We know that it's there. He's there because he knows our suffering. He's with us in the suffering. And there's a lot going on in the world right now that I feel pretty powerless. And I'm looking for some agency to feel that I'm doing something. And I think going to Compline, or to go to adoration and then to Compline, which is the hour that follows, which is at 8 o'clock, is a bearing witness. And it helps me. It helps me to feel that I'm pouring some love into this world. And in a dark sea, a couple of drops of brightness, and it will never, it will make a difference. I really believe that.
I notice as I listen to you, the gratitude that I feel inside myself for the knowing that I feel I know something of what you know, even though our experiences are different. Yeah. And because we've been talking, haven't we, about the last couple of days where it's easy to get spun out, isn't it? It's kind of like the world's a dreadful place. There's dreadful things happening in this world. I often sense about like the hunger in us all to know and be known intimately in my own world, in my own inner world. Yeah. And our own inner worlds can be pretty confusing places.
Yeah.
And then this evening going to adoration and Compline, I'd never been. I'm listening to the chanting, and as I let go of, it's not that it's like I'm just going to allow myself to be in the experience.
Yeah.
And something in me has changed.
What was it like to hear these guys sing in Gregorian chant in Latin?
I mean, I was with the experience. I had, I could hear inside myself going, God, these men can really pray. They like this is prayer, and as that vibration, as I was hearing that vibration, all questions fell away.
Yeah.
And I was with the experience of them, those 10 men in the community, and then the other few of us that were in the abbey, and I'm like, just side by side. And it was lovely to share as well, because it's always lovely to share, isn't it? So it was there sharing.
Did you feel welcome?
Oh yeah. It was like the most natural thing to be doing on a windy, wet, March evening. What else would you be doing? Be going to Compline in the Abbey on Thursday night. You know what I mean? Why would you go? Yeah. This is the happy hour.
And it was memorable because of course I didn't want to speak to you while we were there, but I was thinking, it's blowing a hoolie. I've never heard it so loud.
Yeah.
So it was really, someone was trying to make it really memorable for you. It was like beautiful, wasn't it? And there was a lot, it was silent.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of noise.
And there was
nature was wreaking havoc.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. There is sound.
Yeah.
But it was not really noise, was it?
Yeah.
Because noise is more pollution. There was a lot of sound.
Yeah.
And there was a great silence.
That's right.
We were sinking in the silence.
Yeah.
And these guys know better how to do that than I do. So I go there for a little bit of help, and it helps.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Because that holding, isn't it, was just, and these guys. And then also, I think we often say that, don't we, about, and there's lots of men and women in the world who might never consider themselves or don't go to abbeys, or they're very contemplative.
Yeah.
And they're sinking into silence. And sometimes in a room, I'm sitting with people and they're describing experiences to me. And sometimes there can be a cautious, and you say, this is probably going to sound a little bit mad. And, as I was saying to a brother of mine one time, my experience of madness, the madder they are, the more I love them. Because I think at sometimes at that level, stripped away the pretense and and you had said that to me, didn't you, about, Annabelle had said that. I remember her saying that, one stage that, well, it's a house of God. It's just a lot of madness around the place, right? It's a healing house.
It's a healing house, yeah.
If
we weren't all mad,
yeah,
he wouldn't have come.
No
need.
Right.
I came to heal the sick.
Yeah.
And the normative aspect of what's mad is, because a lot of people might think you lock yourself away in a monastery and you pray, you think it's going to help.
Yeah.
No, your job at the help desk at Amazon, that's really going to change the world. It's just a relative, It sounds like a big fat old judgment, right? So, you think it's bad that somebody's praying for peace? Or so you would prefer this man? What are these people even doing?
Yeah.
And they've got all this money. They don't.
No, they don't.
They live on a shoestring. The rich life of the Catholic Church, kind of over, certainly in Europe. These guys are hanging in there because they're not in it for the money. Kind of, when you have one habit and some work clothes.
Yeah.
It's an uncertain existence. Will it exist? You have very few young people coming in. There's some hopeful signs in this community, but, a lot of these men are in their late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Struck me
80.
also.
So it's a brave, standing on the shore, standing in the wash.
Yeah, and as I was listening to them, like one of the other experiences I had inside me was thank God that they're here.
Yeah, I thank God that they're here.
That they show up, and as you said, some people say, what are these boys even chatting about? And yet when we move below the noise of my mind, I love the word you said earlier about it's not a thinking about it, it's an experience of, which one of the things I would say as somebody who was raised in the Catholic tradition in West Cork, and which I believe is a very beautiful tradition. There was very little emphasis on experience. But all I know, looking back, you don't know this when you're a young fella. Well, I didn't know when I was a young fella. That there was this inner experience going on all the time.
Yeah.
So you'd be hearing in the stories, and it's not that the stories don't matter. Like we're talking about the sacred reading and the sacred scripture, and yeah, it really does. But without an accompanying experience, nobody's transformed. It's like me talking to somebody about grief. Well, let me tell you what's happening, in your grief. No, so right, the first stage here now, right? I mean, you kind of go, I am going, but I know that sometimes maybe have done that with people. I suppose the experience of grief that will tear you apart and bring you to different places, and yet if you part of the accompaniment and the witness is you're not alone.
Yeah. And the experience is the aspect of going beyond the mechanics.
Yeah.
Right. So my wife called our company, Beyond the Mechanics.
Yeah.
Because we're not teachers, we're not trainers, we don't have solutions. The mechanics we trust, you can do yourself.
Yeah.
Or buy a self-help book, follow the steps, buy a manual for your IKEA cupboard.
Yeah.
But beyond the mechanics, so often we need some help. We need to do it together or find other people.
Yeah.
And that's an art, isn't it? And they have that art pretty well developed.
Yeah. Like we think about the rule of Saint Benedict. You'll know more about this, Jake, than I. Like 6th century. So we have over 1,500 years of experience right now. Or we'll think about other, St. Malaga and Timoleague in West Cork, which is, about, down in County Cork, Southern Ireland. It's placed 6-7 miles from my home. Timoleague village is named after St. Malaga. 7 centuries later, there's a Franciscan abbey put on this. And you're like, we're all, St. Gobnet in in West Cork, hear these men who came and, the turn of the last, like, what have people been following?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a faraway place for many people. And obviously also has been for me. I can remember going to my spiritual director, 2012 meeting my spiritual director. And after a few months he said, have you ever been to a monastery? No, I haven't. Here's a telephone number, give them a ring. And I met this man. There's another whole nother story, as they say. But I followed his advice and I went there, and it was very unusual and quite difficult to go to a place where there's nothing happening. I mean, I came equipped: books, laptops, watched a movie, in the silence, because 24 hours of nothing. It's hardcore, man.
Do you remember the movie?
No. Not worth remembering. It's awful.
It's like passing the time.
I also bought an axe, chopped some wood, put it in my bag, went on public transport. Annabelle was like, "It's going to get arrested. You can't say an axe this size. What have you got in your bag?" So I didn't take it out that big example, but I did some wood chopping, and it took a while, to strip back. And I was definitely, I think, inspired. I don't think I was too busy with God, but I was inspired by the place, that something very unusual was happening there. Very, very meaningful. I had no idea what, but it was very clear to me that it was an important place, unlike I'd ever experienced ever before, and I definitely longed for. I think maybe 6 months later, I went back for another, 3 days.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wouldn't take my computer. Wow. It was quite difficult.
Courageous.
I think the fourth time I decided not to drink coffee the week before I went and not take books. I did do a little bit of reading in the library.
Yeah.
But, to strip back gently and to get closer to a place of space, to give yourself also the permission of accepting the challenge of being, and that to be a good person, no need to do anything. Because for me, that's hard. And of course, you can go on a retreat for 3 days, but there are also these little gems of compline, or spending time in a church and just sitting down for a moment. And I tend to say to myself, everything is okay.
Yeah.
Many things are massively awry, and everything is okay. Because what's your contribution? Say, shouting, there's only hell and damnation after this.
Yeah.
I mean, I see my children so brave, because it's the braveness of youth. We've got the future. Don't worry about anything. And you're like, I worry about my children. Well, they're not worried. And of course, I can't tell them I'm worried. And I'm thinking, back up. It will happen. The world's a difficult place. It's always been a difficult place. There's nothing new about it.
That's right.
We just need brave, courageous, loved individuals to go forward and to, bring some light to places of darkness. That's an ongoing process.
And it touches us, I think I believe inside ourselves as well, where, that, for the dark places inside us, that we would rather not visit, that we would rather not, and, to touch, this teacher of mine says, to touch the hurting place with love.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm often reminded and saying that and trying to share that and trying to live that myself, saying to people, remember that this part, this was set up to try and help you. See if you can, allow a little bit of space, a little bit. And when people start to remember that and hear that, it's like you get really curious, They stop getting so closed down. And, I was listening as you talk about going to Compline, or, going to adoration, or like maybe for some of us, pause 3 days and say, but maybe a half a minute. Like sometimes, and I was reflecting upon the breath, one breath to the next.
Yeah.
That's why I love some of the wisdom of AA and the sacred scripture and the wisdom literature from all of the great world traditions, where they say, let's come to this moment.
Yeah. And half a minute of silence is better than no silence, no moment dedicated to silence, to a stop, a resting place, to witness a presence.
Yeah.
Something within you, or something that you are part of.
Yeah. Because it floors it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's if you, like you were talking about earlier about you sitting with people and, it's not a script, and there's moments where you're feeling, sensing the time where there's a time for silence, and then there's a time for, maybe, challenging, leaning in a little bit, and then, but you're definitely not everything. And that was what was lovely about this evening. It was like, it's the gratitude I feel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being with us, listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for coming along.
Yeah. No,
for compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Great.
Sleep well.
Sleep well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Hinge, a podcast presented by Noel O'Driscoll and Jake Espin, produced by Jer Kellett. Feel free to contact the show in the comments or by emailing us at thehingepodcast@gmail.com. Join us next week for another episode of The Hinge.